mess with the ball? Oh, we're good.
We're good. Howdy, everybody.
What's up?
This is the first ever live, Facebook Live edition of Locked On Kentucky.
That's right. We're just we're gonna give people a
Yeah.
couple minutes to get logged in here.
I'll just ask you, Kyle.
Yep.
What was your main takeaway from the game? Kentucky defeats Southern Illinois tonight, 71-59, in a game that was much closer throughout.
Yeah, with like 13 and a half minutes to go, Kentucky was down 6 or 7. It was 7, and then it was 6, I think, with like 13:30 to go. And then from there on, Kentucky outscored them, I think, 31-13 to finish the game. I thought that is probably what we should take away from the game, those last 13 minutes. That was the best version of Kentucky we've seen since the Bahamas, I think, even including the exhibition games. Because, first of all, Southern Illinois is a good team.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
I think they're going to be a really good team. They finished second in a league, in their league, to a team that went to the Final Four last year. They returned all 5 starters off a 20-win team. They've got Scottie Pippen's nephew, who played really well. Do you have the stats there? Scottie Pippen's nephew is 6'10", 240. I thought he was going. Just watching him in pregame, I thought he was going to be a problem. I think he had a really good freshman season. I believe he's a sophomore.
Did you see where Pippen had a tip-in?
He did. Pippen had a tip-in. So he ended up with 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He was great. Aaron Cook had 18. They hit some threes. They were 4 for 4 from 3 early, something like that. It's very similar to the Duke game in that way. The other team comes out hitting shots. Kentucky was down. I mean, they didn't take their first lead of the game until 5 minutes to go in the first half. But I thought, and Kentucky through the first 13 minutes had as many turnovers as minutes played. I think 13 in the first 13 minutes. It was kind of a mess. It was weird. It was like the ball was greased. I mean, they were, stumbling, bumbling, fumbling everything.
Yeah, there was one. I mean, specifically the one where Ashton Higgins just basically threw it out of bounds. He thought Tyler Hero was the official.
Yeah,
and he tried to throw it to the official, and it just goes out of bounds.
So they made a bunch of early mistakes. Southern Illinois, they watched the Duke game and they realized, okay. And I talked to a couple of those guys after. I'll have something up on The Athletic in the morning. Tried to do something a little different tonight. I still talked to the Kentucky players, but while Cal was talking, I went and spent some time with the Southern Illinois coach, who, by the way, was incredible.
Phenomenal.
One of the best post-game opposing coach interviews ever. He came out and gave a lecture to the Big Blue Nations, and I'm going to talk to you, BBN. You need to read the book of Job and have some patience. And he got basically to the point of yelling and said, back off. Let Cal do his thing. These are teenagers. Well, you can't microwave. He said you can't put Tyler Hero in a microwave and make him older. If you put Tyler Hero in a microwave, I think it would be much worse than trying to make him older.
That wouldn't be ideal.
Yeah, it would be a crime to put him in a microwave. But
he also did this was kind of funny, and I remember this cartoon just a little bit, but Marmaduke.
Yeah.
He was talking about how all the Kentucky kids are basically Marmaduke. They're just trying to do good, but they're so young and so big and so awkward that sometimes they make mistakes.
Right. But what, to circle back to what I think was the big takeaway is all that went wrong, coming off the most humiliating loss in most of these guys' lives. Certainly, maybe not most humiliating. Probably some of them played on some bad high school teams where they were the only good player, or bad AAU teams, or whatever. But most surprisingly, bad loss. I mean, going into a game where you think you've got an elite team and you get boat raced, to come out of that, then get punched in the mouth by a good team that was, an older veteran team, probably, good enough to be an NCAA tournament team. They're challenging you. They know that you're weak. That you're kind of not weak, but that you've been weakened maybe mentally by this previous game. They also said, the guys I talked to after, they knew where Kentucky was weak defensively. They knew that they could drive. I mean, that's not a grand secret, but they watched the 2 exhibition games and then the Duke game, and Cal's talked about it a ton, straight line drives, and they did that over and over again early. But they made an adjustment, and I think that was significant. They started going under instead of over on ball screens and really working to stay in front and keep the guards out of the lane, and that made a difference. And then they had some guys make some plays down the stretch, and a lot of those were veteran guys, but not the ones we thought. Reed Travis was in foul trouble.
Yes.
P.J. Washington had another really off night. But Quade Green came up with big buckets. Nick Richards, 19 rebounds. Nick Richards had as many rebounds as Southern Illinois,
That was
19 to
pretty crazy.
19. And then Emmanuel Quickly, I thought, had really shined more than he has shined since he came to Kentucky, including the Bahamas. He hit a couple of huge threes, finished with 15 points, and maybe they found something there at the point guard position.
Yeah, and I actually asked Cal about PJ and what was going on with him offensively after the game, and he
And his wrapped up fingers. I'm
Yeah.
glad he had 3 fingers. He had the pinky, the finger next to it, and the thumb, and it is on that hand where he'd had the surgery, the pinky surgery in the offseason.
Yeah, and Calipari said that he didn't think he completely trusted it yet.
Yeah.
But he said that he needs to get over it and just go do things, go run the floor, and do all the little things that Calipari always says when he talks about someone struggling offensively. Get all the offensive rebounds and get those things, and your offense will come. And so he's preaching that now to P.J. Washington, which, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that he's struggled so much in these first 2 games when everybody thought that he would be the biggest difference maker when he came back.
As you texted me during the game in a little group text we have, remember when Kyle said P.J. Washington could be the SEC Player of the Year as a sophomore?
You did say that.
I'm as surprised as anybody, obviously, that he's struggled this much. I thought it was interesting that Cal was that sort of frank
Open
about
with it, yeah.
like maybe he's doubting his finger. And I actually almost tweeted a picture of it. I went down. I wanted to go tonight, get down there early, spend some time on the court, see if I could get a sense of the like mentality or vibe for Kentucky, and also just like if you could tell from Southern Illinois that they were bouncing around thinking they were going to pull the upset. They were very loose. They were like going through these drills where they were getting pounded with pads and dunking on their assistant coach. And I thought, like, whoa, these guys have some size. They're going to probably physically challenge Kentucky, and they did. But I almost tweeted a picture of PJ because I noticed he had the 3 fingers wrapped. But then I was second-guessing myself. I couldn't remember if he'd had them taped for the other games.
Yeah,
And then I was afraid, like, I was just going to
Everybody
say
would-
something redundant because, on social media you can't make a mistake.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you asked because I thought that was a little bit of a revealing, and maybe people can feel better about how PJ has played if there's an actual explanation
reason.
other
Yeah.
than like he just got like mauled by Duke and then it broke him.
Yeah.
I think that's the fear people may be having right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And the other thing that I've found kind of interesting is when talked to Emmanuel Quickly tonight, he mentioned how the point guards are going to Quade Green for some help on some tips, and there is a little bit of veteran leadership this year, and everybody thought, Kyle and myself included, and actually we shouldn't just throw ourselves under the bus, a ton of national media also picked Kentucky to win that Duke game, but the reason they thought that was because of the experience.
Yeah.
And while the experience didn't show up in that game, it is showing up in situations where, specifically, I watched Ashton Higgins being taken out of the game, and he moved, I forget if it was E.J. Montgomery or Reed Travis, over a seat so he could sit next to Quade and ask him some questions. So that kind of leadership, I think, will pay dividends later on in the season. We thought it was going to be earlier, but maybe it will be a little bit later.
Kendall Smith asked, "What's up with Baker? Jamal Baker? He dressed out tonight. He was going through warm-ups with the team in uniform, but apparently he did not go through the shoot-around. Did anybody ask about him with
No,
Cal?
we did not.
Excuse me, I wasn't in there for most of Calipari. I guess it's probably a good sign that he was at least to the point that he was out there. I mean, he was stretching. I thought maybe he was going to play, and I asked about him and found out he had not gone through walkthrough, which indicated he probably wouldn't play, and he did not. I mean, I thought he was really going to struggle to get minutes this year.
Yeah.
But if he were healthy, I'm not sure that he would. I mean, Tyler Hero's supposed to be their sharpshooter, and right now he's not feeling it. I think if he'd been available in either of these last 2 games, they may have given him some clock. Certainly tonight, he would have gotten an opportunity. And you do begin to wonder, although this looked like a step forward for him tonight, the longer he's out after missing all last year with that knee thing, and we know it's been a knee again that's been bothering him, you start to go like, is this guy ever going to get healthy? But they could use him. I think if he came back, they'd certainly give him a look.
Yeah, we actually got a question on Twitter from the Facebook Live. They wanted to know, did Tyler Hero's jump shot not make it through the customs coming back from the Bahamas?
Yeah, I don't remember what he finished the other night.
He had a decent stat line.
He
but
ended
it
up
was all in garbage
scoring kind of in
time.
garbage time. He got like 14 points and 9 rebounds. I mean, the 9 rebounds was big. I think 5 assists.
Yeah.
If you just looked at that in a vacuum, you thought he played a pretty good game, but he was very bad shooting. He took, when Cal talks about that stretch where they got it to 12 and then took 3 straight bad shots, I think the very first one was just a like wild 25-footer from Tyler Hero. Tonight, 0 for 6 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3. Missed a layup. I mean, shooters getting slumps. We saw Devin Booker have really bad slumps. We saw Malik Monk have really bad slumps. All these guys that go bombs away, they do that, and he's just got to get in a groove. He's got to get some confidence. I'm not terribly worried about his offense. I think he's going to shoot the ball well over the course of the season. I think the stats will normalize for him, but I think you do have to worry about him defensively. He's been very bad defensively, and they need him. I mean,
Yes.
he's the one guy who could go off, and I think he's maybe the only guy on the team who could go off and score like 30 in a game.
Probably.
More than as a fluke here or there. I mean, you may have a game where you just have a total mismatch with Reed Travis.
Yeah, and just goes
and he
crazy.
goes for 30, but like the guy who gets hot and just like bombs the team out of the gym, I think he's the only one they've got. And they don't have him right now. So that's a major concern.
The other thing that I want to mention from Calipari's press conference, he said that the plan after this game is to make the team watch all 19 turnovers on tape, and he's going to ask them after every one, was that necessary? A lot of those turnovers were unnecessary, and they were just out of either lackadaisical play or trying to make a showy play or trying to do something you didn't need to do. I mean, the one specifically I recall, I believe it was Quade Green who threw it ahead through traffic when Kentucky in the first half was on their way to probably tie the game. I think they were only down 2, and Southern Illinois intercepts it, takes it down the other way, and then they end up hitting a 3, and the lead goes back to 5, and then it can kind of continue to struggle a good portion of the rest of the first half. So those kind of things I think they really need to work on. On the flip side of that, they were able to cause a bunch more turnovers this evening, which was a big cause for concern against Duke. Duke only had 4 turnovers, which is just crazy considering.
I think it was
you had a tweet, Kyle. These guys all said they're defensive dogs, and
right.
They didn't play like it at Duke, and they didn't play like it at times tonight.
Yeah, in the first half, and it was like I said, it was straight line drives early on. They really adjusted well in the second half. Late in the second half, like I said, over the last 13 minutes, they give up 13 points, I think. So that'll play. Southern Illinois ended up with 13 assists and 13 turnovers. I think Duke was like 24-4 in that category. Also for Kentucky, after 14 first-half turnovers, they only had 5 in the second half. They played a little better with the ball. But, P.J. Washington, we talked about his struggles, only 3 points in 20 minutes. He also had 5 turnovers in 20 minutes. And a lot of those were like dribbling it off his foot or like, kind of being out of control, trying to do something maybe he's not best at, taking it off the dribble. Let's see, I think Keldon had 3 bad turnovers. Nick Richards, let's mention him again. I mean, he had 8 points, 19 rebounds, and 3 blocks. He also still kind of struggled offensively. I mean, he could have had a 15 and 19 game. He ended up 3 for 8 from the field. They kept trying to get him his double-double, and he missed a couple shots from point-blank range. There's still a lot of room for growth for Nick Richards. I thought this was a really significant night for him, though, because, and I talked to him after, freshman Nick Richards is part of a game like Tuesday night and personally kind of gets embarrassed like Tuesday night. That's going to take him out for weeks, if not the year. And he comes right back tonight, and he said that was a maturity thing for him. Comes right back tonight after that humiliating evening against Duke and has a 19-rebound game. So that was big. He was a good sort of shot alterer and blocker in the paint. We mentioned
that was the other thing. Calipari, when we were talking about Nick Richards' defense, he was sure to bring up E.J. Montgomery, who also had 2 blocks and
10 points, 7 rebounds in just 17 minutes.
Yeah, he had a really good game, and that was the other point that Calipari made when your 2 quote-unquote veteran big guys, P.J. Washington and Reed Travis, foul trouble and just not having, kind of having an off night. Those two guys were able to step up big time, and that's, I think, a major reason why Kentucky ended up winning.
Quade Green, we haven't talked a ton about. We mentioned him.
My man, Quade.
But he was big. I mean, he had 14 points, 3 assists, had a big steal in there as they were kind of creating some distance. 4 of 8 from the field. He hit a couple threes.
And that's what I thought. That's what I thought Quade was going to be.
That's what he should be for them.
Yeah, exactly.
He should be a 10 to 14 point guy who hits a couple threes every game.
Exactly, and that's why I think the Duke game was just a weird one. Duke played all the way, up, and Kentucky, like Quade Green didn't play well, PJ Washington didn't play well. If you have anything,
it was an all systems failure.
Yeah,
it was a bunch of young guys getting totally overwhelmed.
Yes,
it was a PJ Washington playing in front of 50 NBA scouts, knowing that he was never going to have a more important single game in terms of his NBA stock of this season than that one. And I think all of that kind of caved in on them. And so the sense I got tonight from everybody involved, including the Southern Illinois coach who kept talking about it, is that but especially the Kentucky guys, like, this can still really be something good.
Yeah.
And Nick Richards said, we talked afterwards and we said we can never let this happen again. Like, we go to Kentucky. We have to play for that name that's across our chest. And I think that's probably what frustrated Kentucky fans more than anything. I don't think they would have been apoplectic to lose to a loaded Duke team.
No.
But to just get utterly humiliated, to have the other blue blood Duke, who already kind of in the modern era you have more overall titles, but K has 5 to Cal's 1. To have them be able to sort of lord that over you, they just humiliated you, I think is very frustrating to the fan base, and I think the players got it. I got that sense from them that they got that was embarrassing. They were all shocked by it, but I also got the sense that they felt like we can rally around, what happened that night and not let it break them. I mean, that was the other option, that they just collapse. And then when you see them get down, they were down 7 in the second half to a team that's good. If that had gone the other way, then you really, the panic button is all the way pushed. And
both feet on the panic button, in the words of John Calipari.
I think they avoided that tonight. I think the panic button can maybe stay on the desk, but maybe not with the glass opened up where you're ready to push it. So.
Sydney put a comment, "Hey guys, glad you're doing these again. My favorite post-game coverage." I believe Sydney is out of one of the Dakotas. I think she's up there.
Really?
I follow her back on Twitter. Yeah, so thanks for.
Was this from? Have you been with us since our SEC Country live stream and
all the way
Facebook
back
days?
The SEC Country days.
Shout out to Joe Masato. Hope he's watching somewhere.
Pour
one out. But thank you, and we're glad to be back. Mike, after Kirk, said Green changed the game for sure tonight. Yeah, I mean.
That's my high school point guard.
Is it?
Yeah, he was a year older than me.
What's up, Mike? That is exactly what they need Quade to be.
Yes.
And some nights maybe a little less than that. But
to the point of the Southern Illinois coach about microwave, Quade the microwave Green, coming in, giving a little offensive spark, defensive spark.
Put him in there with a little cup of water, and all of a sudden you got macaroni.
Mix
Quade Green and 1 cup of water for 90 seconds in the microwave. But if you put Tyler Hero in the microwave, it's just going to be a mess. I think there's a general. To me, it's a generally positive.
It is kind of weird
from tonight,
since there was such a strong, large portion of the game that was a struggle for Kentucky, to still have kind of a positive mindset from the opposing coach, from the players, from John Calipari. I think that kind of says 2 things: one, they were playing a really good opponent tonight. Right. And 2, that they believe that they're starting to turn a page. Yeah, well, look, just the number one question is, will you be tough? Because you got just thoroughly beat down, and you didn't look tough. You looked like the exact opposite of tough in the first game. Mm-hmm. So, do you have any toughness? And that's a question, and that would have been, we would have had to just ask almost point blank to them if they'd lost this game tonight. Are you tough, or are you guys just, weak? Are you weak-minded? And I think for them to get challenged and then really stomp on the gas and show energy, and you saw Keldon Johnson kind of come to life when that lead got extended, the tomahawk dunk, what Quade did, what Nick did, E.J. Montgomery, even Reed Travis. All that time he was kind of glued to the bench with foul trouble. He comes in towards the very end and is just beasting out. I think everybody can at least say they have a little fight in them. Yeah, you want to win by more than 12 against Southern Illinois at home, but maybe Southern Illinois is going to be a really pretty good team. So, yep. Sydney sent another message. Said, North Dakota. I actually cover University of North Dakota, who Kentucky plays next week. Oh, nice. Well, so there we go.
You're going to make the trip to Lexington? Come see us.
Yeah. You can stay in Kyle's basement.
Yeah. No. Nobody can stay in my basement. That's my man. I think we've pretty much covered it.
Thanks to everybody for watching the Facebook Live. I'll go ahead and post this on the podcast feed as well, so you'll be able to listen to it there. And be sure to be following along at Locked On UK on Twitter. If it's the first time you've been on the page here on Facebook, be sure to like this page to follow along. We'll probably be doing a couple of these, and maybe eventually we'll be doing a live event, so stay tuned for all that. Follow me on Twitter at Curtis Burch, Burch.
And I'm at Kyle Tucker _ATH.
And follow along with all of Kyle's coverage in The Athletic. And follow me on BigBlueInsider.com. I'll have some post-game videos, and then I'll be tweeting out some shorter-length videos as well on my Twitter feed. Thanks so much for listening and viewing, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.